You know those glossy family portraits you see in dentist offices where everyone's teeth are so white, you wonder if they're actors hired from a toothpaste commercial? That's what I thought my life was. Perfect house in a quiet suburb, a wife who baked banana bread for the neighbors, a dog named Max who wore a red bandana like he was straight out of a Hallmark movie. People said we were the model American family, and like an idiot I believed it. I believed in love, in loyalty, in the idea that my wife was my ride-or-die partner. But here's the joke. The universe doesn't run on love or loyalty. It runs on lies, cheating, and betrayal, and apparently my life was the punchline. The first signs weren't even subtle. She started staying out late, claiming yoga classes. But if yoga leaves you smelling like whiskey and cologne, then clearly I'd been attending the wrong sessions. She smiled too hard at barbecues when my father's old buddy came around, an aging, leathery-faced man who looked like he sold used cars by day and corrupted marriages by night. But me? I was blind. Or maybe I was just American-level optimistic, the kind of fool who thinks problems vanish if you grill enough burgers and pay the mortgage on time. And then there were the pregnancy hints. Suddenly, she was glowing. Everyone said it was motherhood making her radiant. Me? I thought I was about to become a dad, the classic suburban dream, me mowing the lawn with a beer in hand, my kid running around in a diaper. But sometimes the glow isn't angelic. Sometimes it's radioactive, toxic love that's ready to poison everything you thought was safe. I didn't know the child she carried wasn't mine. I didn't know I was signing up to raise a walking monument to infidelity. If you listen to conspiracy radio late at night, you'll hear them talk about lizard people running the government. But I swear my wife was the first shapeshifter I'd ever encountered. By day, she was sweet, calling me honey while serving pancakes. By night, she was a secret agent of betrayal, plotting with my father's so-called friend. Imagine it, me at work crunching numbers, while she's at home perfecting her role in a soap opera too outrageous even for daytime TV. If aliens abducted me and showed me the tapes, I would have believed them before I believed this story. The paranoia started when her lies got sloppy. She'd text with her phone tilted away, whispering in the kitchen like she was in a spy thriller. I remember one night walking in and she jumped like a guilty teenager caught sneaking vodka from the cabinet. "It's just my mom," she said, and I wanted to believe her. But unless her mom suddenly learned how to use winking emojis and heart-shaped gifs at 2 a.m., something was rotten. I told myself I was overthinking, that I was being dramatic. But deep down, I knew. Cheating has a smell. Betrayal has a sound. Infidelity leaves fingerprints all over the walls of your so-called happy home. Here's the thing about Americans. We like to pretend we're rational. We say we believe in justice, in fairness, in family values. But really, we're obsessed with scandal. We binge-watch Netflix shows about toxic love and revenge like they're guidebooks for survival. And the cruelest part? When the scandal hits your own living room, you don't get popcorn. You get insomnia, panic attacks, and a wife who kisses you goodnight with someone else's cologne still clinging to her. I used to laugh at country songs about cheating wives and broken families. I thought they were exaggerated, melodramatic. Now I know every lyric was written for me for this exact nightmare. She Ran Off with My Daddy's Friend isn't just a song anymore. It's my biography. Except in my version, she didn't run off. She stayed. She stayed under my roof, in my bed, carrying a baby that wasn't mine, acting like it was all normal. Sometimes I think about how the betrayal started. Did it begin with a handshake at a barbecue? A harmless chat about football that turned into late-night texts? Or was it a long con planned years ago when fate decided I'd be the village idiot in this Shakespearean tragedy turned American soap opera? I'll never know. What I do know is that by the time I caught on, it was already too late. My so-called perfect life was just a sitcom where the laugh track was replaced with my own screams. But here's the delicious irony. In every American story of cheating, there's always a twist. The husband either rolls over and cries, or he sharpens his knives and gets ready for revenge. And let me tell you, I wasn't about to be the guy crying in the corner while the credits rolled. No. My story wasn't going to end with infidelity winning. It was going to end with betrayal being avenged so brutally that even country singers would hesitate to write about it. They say your life can change in a single night, like some cosmic producer decided to flip the script without your permission. Last night was mine. I wasn't supposed to be home. That's the detail that makes this whole betrayal unravel. I had a late shift, spreadsheets to finish, numbers to crunch, the glamorous American dream of staying in an office lit by fluorescent misery. But the printer broke, the boss yelled, and I left earlier than expected. Fate, karma, whatever you call it, it shoved me back home to witness the kind of cheating that makes soap operas look tame. The house was too quiet when I pulled into the driveway. Max, the dog, didn't bark. My wife's car was there, lights dimmed, curtains drawn like she was hiding from Jehovah's Witnesses. I walked in, dropped my keys, and immediately felt the wrongness in the air. You ever walk into a room and feel the betrayal before you see it? That thick silence, that perfume that doesn't belong, that whisper in your brain screaming something's off. Yeah. That was my living room. I heard noises upstairs. Not the kind of noises you want to hear unless you're the one causing them. Rhythmic, breathless, a soundtrack to betrayal. I froze at the bottom of the staircase, every American husband's nightmare suddenly pounding in my ears. My first thought wasn't even rage. It was disbelief. Surely not her. Surely not in our bed, in our house, under our wedding photos. But as I climbed those stairs, the universe confirmed. Oh yes, her, exactly her, with the one man I never would have suspected, but also, somehow, always should have. I opened the door, and there it was. My wife, my supposed partner for life, in a tangle of sheets and sweat, with my father's old friend. An older man with sagging skin, whiskey breath, and a smirk like he'd just won a prize. And maybe he had. My wife, my trust, my family. She screamed, tried to cover herself, but you can't cover betrayal. You can't hide infidelity when it's dripping off you like poison. He didn't even flinch. That smug old bastard just sat there like he was king of the world. Like sleeping with your buddy's wife while she carried your baby was some kind of American tradition, like fireworks on the 4th of July or tailgating before a football game. I wanted to kill him. I wanted to smash his face into the wall until his dentures rattled like maracas. But instead I laughed. I laughed because the absurdity was too much. My life had become a parody, a late-night sketch no sane audience would believe. And then my eyes caught the curve of her belly, that bump I'd been proud of, the child I thought was mine. My legacy, my bloodline, my family. Except now, I realized it wasn't mine at all. It was his. The baby of my father's friend, conceived in betrayal, incubated in lies. I staggered back like I'd been punched. The room spun. My heart turned into glass, shattering in slow motion. You want to know what toxic love feels like? It's looking at your wife and realizing every kiss, every smile, every whisper of "I love you" was just camouflage for infidelity. She started crying, begging, trying to explain with excuses that sounded like the world's worst stand-up routine. It was a mistake, she said. A mistake? Mistakes are forgetting to take out the trash, not getting pregnant with your husband's father's friend's baby. It didn't mean anything, she said. Nothing? Then why was she glowing like betrayal itself had impregnated her? Why was I standing there watching the collapse of my family because of something that supposedly meant nothing? He finally spoke, the audacity dripping from every word. Listen, son, he started, like we were about to have a wholesome chat over coffee. It just happened. Just happened. As if infidelity were a car accident, as if my marriage had slipped on a banana peel and landed on his lap. I wanted to scream, to throw them both out the window, but something inside me snapped differently. This wasn't going to end with me shouting or crying. No. This was going to end with revenge, the kind that would carve my name into the book of poetic justice. I walked out of the room without another word, not because I forgave them, but because I was already planning. Betrayal isn't the end of the story. It's the beginning of the sequel where the betrayed husband becomes the villain, the avenger, the mastermind. Americans love revenge stories, and I was about to give them one so juicy Netflix would fight for the rights. As I drove away that night, the town looked different. Every street light flickered like it knew my secret. Every shadow whispered about my wife's infidelity. I passed the diner where we used to sit in a booth, sharing milkshakes, pretending we were that sweet couple. Now all I could see was her lips on him, her lies infecting every memory. It wasn't just my wife who cheated. It wasn't just my family that was poisoned. It was me, my dignity, my sanity, all dragged through the mud of betrayal. By the time I pulled into a gas station, I had a plan forming. No, I wasn't going to kill them, tempting as it was. Death would be merciful. I wanted something slower, more public. Revenge, American style, humiliation, exposure, the kind that leaves scars deeper than any knife. They thought they'd fooled me. They thought they'd broken me. But last night didn't break me. It rebuilt me into something else, something stronger, something crueler. And as I stared at my reflection in the dirty bathroom mirror of that gas station, I smiled for the first time in months, because this wasn't the end of the story. This was the turning point. The night I caught my cheating wife wasn't my downfall. It was the prologue to her downfall, and trust me, it was going to be spectacular. The morning after was strangely calm, the kind of eerie calm that comes before a tornado flattens your town and leaves reporters standing in front of your wreckage saying, "It all happened so fast." My wife tried to play normal. She made coffee, buttered toast, and acted like she hadn't been caught in a live-action episode of Cheater's Suburban Edition. The audacity was almost impressive, but I smiled back. I kissed her cheek. Because nothing tastes sweeter than pretending you're still the fool when in reality you're sharpening the knife of revenge behind your back. I spent that whole day at work, not working. Instead, I scribbled notes like some unhinged conspiracy theorist. Flow charts, arrows, boxes labeled cheating, infidelity, betrayal, all pointing toward one big word: revenge. If someone had peeked over my cubicle, they would have thought I was investigating the JFK assassination, not my wife's toxic love affair with my father's friend. But in a way, it was just as historic. First step, evidence. Americans love evidence. We don't believe in ghosts without grainy photos, and we don't believe in cheating without screenshots. So, I became a detective in my own marriage. I checked her phone when she showered, downloaded apps to recover deleted texts, even planted a small recording device in the living room lamp like I was auditioning for the CIA. And oh, the things I found. Messages full of emojis I didn't even know existed, promises of a new life together, and the ultimate dagger, plans about what they'd name their baby. Not our baby. Theirs. That unborn child had already been stolen from me in the group chat of betrayal. Second step, exposure. See, you can forgive infidelity in private, you can scream about betrayal in private, but revenge? Revenge needs an audience. Americans don't clap for silent suffering. They clap for public spectacles. So I knew I had to time this right. The town would see, the family would see. Her parents, his wife, my father, every single person who thought we were perfect would watch the illusion burn. But here's the thing, you can't just drop a bomb. You've got to tease it, stretch it, let paranoia sink its claws in. So I started small. At dinner with her parents, I asked, "So, when do you think honesty becomes the most important part of family life?" With a smile so sharp it could cut steak. At the grocery store, I casually said to her, "Funny how people always get caught cheating in the most obvious ways." Watching her face pale was better than ice cream. Slowly she began to feel it, that something was coming. And that's the beauty of psychological warfare. Half the revenge happens in their own imagination. Meanwhile, I befriended gossip. In small-town America, gossip spreads faster than wildfires in California. I accidentally left photos on the counter when friends came over. I dropped vague comments about trust issues at the bar. I even tipped off the church ladies, the real CIA of any American community. Within weeks, whispers followed her everywhere. She tried to hold my hand at Sunday service, but I noticed how Mrs. Johnson from 3 pews back was staring at her like she was Judas at the Last Supper. Delicious. Third step, humiliation. Not just hers, his too. That leathery old friend of my father thought he could steal my wife and baby without consequence? No, I made sure his wife found out. I mailed her a flash drive labeled Memories, filled with screenshots and audio recordings that made the soap operas on TV look tame. I wanted him to feel the betrayal on all sides, wanted his family to look at him like he was radioactive waste. Because revenge isn't revenge unless it poisons the betrayer's whole world. But I didn't stop there. No, I planned something bigger, something theatrical. Americans love drama. We invented Hollywood, after all. And if my life had become a movie, I was going to direct the climax. So I chose the perfect stage. My father's upcoming birthday party. Everyone would be there. Family, neighbors, friends, the whole damn town. A celebration of life? Oh no, it was going to be the funeral of her reputation. I began rehearsing my speech in the mirror like I was running for president. I practiced pauses, inflections, even how to hold the photos for maximum effect. I wanted gasps, tears, chaos. I wanted the betrayal to unfold live, in surround sound, so no one could ever forget. Revenge wasn't just about hurting them. It was about etching their names in the permanent hall of shame. And yet, in the middle of all this planning, I caught myself laughing at the absurdity, laughing at how my American dream had turned into a twisted parody of itself. A wife who cheats, a baby that isn't mine, a family friend, turned villain. It was almost too cliché. But clichés exist because they're true. And infidelity, betrayal, toxic love, they've been ruining families since the dawn of time. I just happened to be the latest victim who decided not to stay a victim. By the time the party invitation went out, I was ready. I had everything, the photos, the recordings, the righteous fury boiling inside me. She still didn't know. She thought I was quiet because I was broken. She thought she'd won. But she didn't see that I was simply patient, waiting, letting her dig her own grave one fake smile at a time. And as the day drew closer, I felt something I hadn't felt in months: control. Cheating had taken away my power, betrayal had stripped my pride, but revenge was giving it all back. I was no longer the husband who cried into his pillow. I was the man orchestrating justice, writing the final act of our toxic love story. The night of my father's birthday party arrived, like Judgment Day, dressed in streamers and balloons. The house was packed, laughter bouncing off the walls, the smell of barbecue thick in the air, kids running around with sparklers while adults clinked glasses of cheap wine. To anyone else, it looked like a Norman Rockwell painting of wholesome American family life. But to me, it was a stage, bright lights, perfect audience, and 2 guilty stars who had no idea the curtain was about to fall on their toxic love story. My wife walked in with that fake smile she'd perfected, holding her baby bump like it was a trophy. My father's friend trailed behind her, the smugness never leaving his leathery face. I swear the man thought he was untouchable, like betrayal could be swept under a rug as long as the rug was big enough. Everyone greeted them warmly, because no one knew the truth. Yet. And that's what made it perfect. They were basking in acceptance, about to be drowned in disgrace. I mingled, shook hands, laughed at jokes I didn't hear. Inside, my heart beat like a war drum. The recordings were loaded on a flash drive, the photos stacked neatly in my jacket pocket. I sipped beer after beer, waiting for the right moment, the moment where celebration would flip into catastrophe. Americans love a twist ending, and I was about to give them one live. The cake came out, candles lit, everyone singing "Happy Birthday" with off-key gusto. My father blew them out, everyone cheered, glasses were raised. And then, before anyone could slice into the cake, I cleared my throat. That small sound cut through the noise like a knife. Heads turned, all eyes landed on me. Exactly what I wanted. "I have a toast," I began, holding up my glass. Smiles all around. They thought I was going to gush about family, loyalty, love. Instead, I delivered betrayal on a silver platter. We talk about family values in this country, about loyalty, honesty, love. But sometimes the people closest to you poison those words. Gasps already. I saw my wife's face stiffen, the friend's smirk falter. Oh yes, they knew what was coming. I pulled the photos from my pocket, fanned them out like playing cards, and tossed them onto the table. The whispers spread instantly, a wave of shock rolling across the room. "That's my wife," I said calmly, "and that's my father's best friend. And that baby she's carrying, not mine." Silence, then chaos. Forks clattered to the floor, glasses tipped, voices rose in disbelief. My wife turned pale, tears springing to her eyes. He stood frozen, trying to form words that wouldn't come. But I wasn't done. I clicked the TV remote, and the room filled with the sound of their voices. The recordings I'd collected played loud and clear, whispered, "I love yous," plans for the future, laughter at my expense. The betrayal filled the room, undeniable, inescapable. Every guest stared at them like they were animals in a zoo exhibit labeled "Infidelity in its Natural Habitat." My wife collapsed into sobs, begging for forgiveness, reaching for me like I was still her husband. But her touch felt like acid. "No more lies," I said, my voice shaking but strong. "No more pretending. You wanted toxic love? You got it. You wanted cheating? You did it. And now you live with the betrayal. You both do." The father's friend tried to defend himself, but his words drowned in the noise of disgust. His wife stormed out, his children glaring at him with hatred. My father sat stunned, his birthday ruined, but I saw in his eyes the same fury burning in mine. Betrayal wasn't just against me, it was against the whole family, the community too. In a small-town America, reputations don't just break quietly, they shatter like church windows under a baseball bat. And theirs shattered right there in front of everyone. The party ended not with cake, but with silence and shame. My wife left in tears, the friend trailing behind her like a beaten dog. People patted my shoulder, whispered condolences. But I didn't need their pity. I didn't want it. I had revenge, and it tasted better than any sympathy casserole the neighbors could have baked. Later that night, alone in the wreckage of what had once been my life, I sat on the porch and lit a cigarette I didn't even like. I thought about how easily trust can die, how fragile family really is. We build our lives on illusions, on the hope that love means loyalty, that vows mean something. But love can be toxic, families can be poisoned, and betrayal waits around the corner with a smile. Did I win? Not exactly. Revenge doesn't bring back what you lost. My marriage was still dead, my dreams still burned. But I wasn't broken anymore. I wasn't the fool in the sitcom. I was the man who turned infidelity into a spectacle, who carved betrayal into stone so they could never erase it. And as I watched the sun rise over my quiet American street, I realized something. Sometimes revenge isn't about balance or even justice. Sometimes it's about making sure betrayal never gets the last laugh. My wife thought she could cheat. My father's friend thought he could steal. But in the end, I wrote the ending. And the ending was mine.